Long ago, in a lush and beautiful region known as the Cedar Valley, lived two brothers named Elias and Silas. They had traveled a very long way, carrying all their belongings on their backs, searching for the perfect place to finally settle down and build their forever homes. Elias, the older brother, was a thoughtful and patient man. He always took his time, whether he was tying his boots, carving a piece of wood, or making a big decision. He believed that if something was worth doing, it was worth doing with great care, no matter how long it took. Silas, the younger brother, was full of bright energy and excitement. He loved to laugh, he loved to sing, and he loved to see things happen quickly. He was clever and fast, but he rarely stopped to think about the future. For Silas, today was the only day that mattered. After weeks of traveling, they arrived at the edge of a magnificent river. The water sparkled like diamonds in the afternoon sun, winding its way through the valley. On one side of the river was a wide, flat beach of incredibly soft, white sand. It was shaded by beautiful willow trees that dipped their leaves into the cool water. On the other side of the river, rising high into the sky, was a massive, steep bluff of solid gray granite. "This is it," Silas declared, dropping his heavy pack onto the soft sand. "This is where we will build our homes." Elias looked at the valley. He looked at the gentle river, the white sand, and the towering rock. "It is beautiful," Elias agreed, "but we must choose our building sites carefully." Silas didn't hesitate. He walked right to the middle of the soft, white beach, kicked off his boots, and dug his toes into the warm sand. "I'm building right here," he announced with a giant smile. "Look at it, Elias. The water is just a few steps away for swimming and fishing. The ground is perfectly flat, so I won't have to do any leveling. And the sand is so soft, digging a foundation will take no time at all." Elias frowned. He walked down to the water's edge and looked closely at the riverbanks. He noticed deep grooves carved into the dirt far above the current water level. He looked up at the sky and then over at the towering granite bluff. "Silas," Elias said gently, "the sand is beautiful today, while the sun is shining and the river is calm. But look at the marks on the trees. Look at the shape of the valley. When the rainy season comes, this gentle river will swell. The water will rise, and this sand will shift. It is not safe." Silas laughed and waved his hand dismissively. "Oh, you worry too much, Elias. Look at the sky. There isn't a cloud in sight. It hasn't rained in months. By the time any rain comes, I'll have a roaring fire in my fireplace and a strong roof over my head. Where are you going to build?" Elias turned and pointed up. "There, on top of the rock." Silas stared at his brother in disbelief. "Up there? Are you joking? It will take you a week just to carry your tools up that steep path. The rock is solid granite. You won't be able to dig into it with a shovel. You'll have to chip away at it with a heavy hammer and chisel, inch by painful inch. You will exhaust yourself before you even lay the first brick." "It will be hard work," Elias agreed softly. "It will take a very long time, and my hands will blister. But when a house is built on solid rock, it cannot be moved." And so, the two brothers parted ways to begin their work. Silas began immediately. Just as he predicted, the work on the beach was incredibly easy. He used a lightweight shovel to scoop out a shallow trench in the soft sand. He didn't bother digging deep. The sand just kept falling back in anyway, and he was eager to see the walls go up. He gathered tall, thin cedar branches and tied them together to make his frame. Because he didn't have to carry anything up a hill, he was able to gather materials very quickly. He sang cheerful songs as he worked, stopping frequently to take refreshing swims in the cool river. Within just 2 weeks, Silas had a house, and it was beautiful. He had woven river reeds together to make a charming, textured roof. He had carved wide windows to let in the cool river breeze. He built a small wooden deck right on the sand, where he could sit and watch the water flow by. It was the perfect summer cottage. Every evening, Silas would sit on his deck, eating fresh fish and playing his wooden flute. He would look up at the towering granite cliff, where he could hear the faint, echoing sound of his brother working. Clink, clink, clink. Silas would shake his head and laugh. Poor Elias, he thought, working his life away up there in the hot sun, while I am already enjoying my beautiful home. Up on the high cliff, things were very different. Elias had not even begun to build walls. For the first 2 weeks, he had done nothing but clear the loose dirt away from the top of the bluff to expose the solid, unyielding bedrock underneath. Then came the hardest part. To make a foundation that would hold his house steady, Elias had to carve directly into the stone. He used a heavy iron chisel and a thick wooden mallet. Clink, clink, clink. Every swing sent a shockwave up his arms. His hands grew calloused and covered in blisters. The sun beat down on the exposed rock, making the air shimmer with heat. He had to carry every single drop of his drinking water up the steep, winding path from the river below. It was exhausting, backbreaking work. Sometimes his muscles ached so much he could barely lift his mallet. Sometimes he would look down at the beautiful, easy life Silas was living on the beach, and he would wonder if he was making a mistake. But then he would look at the rock beneath his feet. He would run his hand over the cold, immovable stone. He knew the storms would come. He knew the gentle breeze would not last forever. So, he took a deep breath, lifted his mallet, and struck the chisel again. Month after month passed. While Silas relaxed, Elias slowly carried heavy stones up the path, one by one. He mixed strong mortar and laid the stones carefully, ensuring every single piece was perfectly locked into the bedrock. He built thick, sturdy walls. He used heavy, solid oak beams for his roof, securing them with iron nails. By the time Elias finally finished his house, autumn was ending. The air was growing crisp and cold. His house was not as airy or decorated as his brother's. It was a modest, heavy stone fortress. But as Elias closed his thick oak door and bolted it shut, he felt a deep, profound sense of peace. He was ready. The warning came subtly at first. One afternoon, Silas was sitting on his sandy deck when he noticed the wind had changed direction. It was no longer a warm, gentle breeze carrying the scent of pine. It was a sharp, biting wind smelling of ozone and deep water. He looked up. The sky, which had been perfectly blue for months, was turning a strange, bruised color. Massive, heavy gray clouds were rolling over the mountains, blocking out the sun. The air grew thick and heavy, making it hard to breathe. Suddenly, a blinding flash of jagged light tore across the sky. Crack! The thunder was so loud it shook the ground. Silas jumped up, his heart pounding. The birds in the willow trees scattered into the air, flying away in a panic. The gentle, bubbling river suddenly looked dark and angry. The first drops of rain fell. They weren't light, misty drops. They were heavy, freezing spheres of water that hit the sand like small stones. Silas hurried inside his beautiful house and shut his thin wooden door. "It's just a storm," he told himself, wrapping a blanket around his shoulders. "I have a roof. I have walls. I am perfectly safe." But this was not just a storm. This was the Great Tempest of the valley. Within minutes, the sky unleashed a torrential downpour. The rain fell in solid, blinding sheets. The wind howled through the valley, tearing the leaves from the willow trees and throwing them against Silas's windows. Inside the house on the sand, Silas lit a lantern with trembling hands. He could hear the wind screaming through the cracks in his woven reed roof. Then he felt it, a strange, sickening movement beneath his feet. He looked down. Water was seeping under his front door. The gentle river had rapidly swelled, turning into a raging, muddy torrent that was quickly climbing the banks. The water rushed over the white beach, turning the soft sand into a heavy, swirling soup of mud. Silas grabbed his shovel and tried to push the mud away from his door, but it was useless. The water was rising too fast. Suddenly, a massive gust of wind slammed into the side of the house. The entire structure leaned. Because Silas had not dug a deep foundation, his cedar poles were simply resting in the wet, shifting sand. As the mud washed away, the house lost its footing. Snap! One of the main support beams broke. The roof sagged violently. "No!" Silas cried out. He dropped his shovel and backed against the far wall. The river surged, sending a powerful wave of dark water directly into the side of the house. The soft sand completely gave way. With a terrifying, deafening groan, the walls twisted, the roof collapsed inward, and the entire house shattered into pieces, swept away by the raging floodwaters. Silas barely escaped. He scrambled out of a broken window just as the house collapsed, plunging into the freezing, muddy water. He fought the current, grabbing onto a thick willow branch and pulling himself up the muddy bank, gasping for air, shivering in the freezing rain, watching everything he had built vanish in an instant. High above, on the towering granite cliff, the storm was just as fierce. The wind battered against Elias's house with the force of a giant's fist. The rain lashed furiously against his heavy wooden shutters. The thunder shook the very air around the mountain. But inside, Elias sat calmly in his sturdy wooden chair. He had a warm fire crackling in his stone hearth. His thick stone walls completely blocked out the howling wind. His solid oak roof did not leak a single drop of water. When the wind slammed into his home, the house did not sway, it did not creak, and it did not lean. It was anchored deep into the ancient, unmoving bedrock of the earth. The storm could rage and scream all it wanted, but the rock would not yield. Elias was completely, utterly safe. Suddenly, through the noise of the storm, Elias heard a frantic, desperate pounding on his heavy oak door. He unbolted the lock and pulled the door open. There, standing in the freezing rain, covered in mud and shivering uncontrollably, was his younger brother. Elias didn't say, "I told you so." He didn't ask what happened to the house on the sand. He simply reached out, pulled his brother inside, and shut the heavy door against the storm. He wrapped Silas in a thick, warm wool blanket and sat him by the fire. He handed him a steaming cup of tea. Silas sat there, staring at the strong stone walls, listening to the furious storm raging outside, finally understanding the true value of the hard, painful work his brother had done. The storm raged for 3 days and 3 nights, but the house on the rock never moved. When Jesus told this parable to the crowds gathered around him, he wasn't trying to teach them how to be carpenters or architects. He was teaching them how to build their lives. In this story, the rain, the wind, and the rising floods are the difficult times in our lives. We all face storms. We face sadness, sickness, fear, and challenges that test our strength. The storm comes to the wise person and the foolish person equally. The difference is the foundation. Jesus explained that a foolish builder is like someone who hears God's teachings, who hears about love, honesty, forgiveness, and faith, but chooses not to actually put them into practice. They choose the easy way. They build their life on the sand of what is popular, what is easy, or what feels good in the moment. When the hard times come, that foundation washes away, and they are left feeling broken and lost. But the wise builder is the one who hears God's words and actively lives by them. Living a good, honest, and faithful life isn't always easy. Sometimes it's like chiseling into hard rock. It takes patience, discipline, and hard work to forgive others, to tell the truth when it's scary, or to have faith when things are dark. But when you do the hard work of building your life on the solid rock of God's truth, you are creating a foundation that nothing can destroy. When the storms of life hit, when the winds howl and the waters rise, you will not collapse. You will stand firm, grounded in peace, safe and secure on the solid rock.